There's one question here that I think is really important that we not leave unanswered.
All right.
Which is whether, Eric, what makes Die Hard one of the greatest Christmas movies ever made? Is Die Hard a
sort
Christmas
of a leading
movie?
question, I must say.
Can I just back up?
Yeah.
Why does it matter whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie
Because
or not?
people have nothing better to do.
No, but really, why? It's a good movie. I like that
it's a
movie.
good movie.
What does it matter? Whether it's a Christmas movie or not.
Well, I actually think it matters. I mean, does it matter whether
what are we asking? What is the actual question here?
We're asking what is a Christmas movie?
Yes. It's much as we learned this year with What is a Woman, in debates about definitions, it's important to test edge cases.
Fine, okay.
And this is one of them. And I also think that it speaks to that question about the sort of intangible Christmas feeling. There's something that you've talked a lot about, actually, the mood in the air that you can't totally pin it down, but you always know it when you feel it. And I think some people experience it with Die Hard, which does take place, I believe, during Christmas at this point. Mm-hmm. And I think, for example, that the Harry Potter movies and the Lord of the Rings movies are Christmas movies, even though they don't. I mean, Harry Potter has Christmas in it, but there's no Christmas in Lord of the Rings. But still, there is this, I don't know, homey, warm kind of glow about them that I think people are trying to pin down when they argue over this.
First of all, I have an actual good Die Hard story, which is that when Die Hard came out, Mom's parents, your grandparents, had gone on vacation somewhere, and their house was empty. So we went out as a sort of way of affording a vacation, which we couldn't afford. We went out to stay in their house while they were gone, and so we were out in the middle of Long Island. And one day, just out of boredom, I thought I'd go to a movie, and I kind of paged through things, and there was an ad for Die Hard. It was about the size of a postage stamp, and it was just a picture, as I recall, of a man with his hair blown back, a cartoon of a guy watching the screen with his hair blown back, and that's how exciting the movie was.
He's describing a newspaper where they used to list
turn the pages,
movie.
Movie theaters, you went to physical locations.
Right. And so I went to this movie knowing nothing about it. And I don't think I'd ever seen Bruce Willis on his TV show, which was basically what he had been doing. And I just went and thought, this is kind of an exciting thriller movie. First of all, it was so exciting that I actually, when I had hair, it actually was blowing back. But I also was so naive that I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, this guy's going to die. This guy, and I didn't realize I had to be a Die Hard 6. Counting backwards. Anyway. I say this because I love the movie. I think it's one of the greatest action movies ever made, if not it's the essential action movie from that date on. Mm-hmm. Every movie was Die Hard on a boat, and Die Hard in a bathroom, and Die Hard, whatever. I don't think it's a Christmas movie. I think it's a movie that takes place during Christmas. It has wonderful values in that it's about a marriage coming back together and people realizing that the marriage goes before everything else that they're doing. And that's all wonderful. But it does not do what a Christmas story does, which is utilize Christmas in all its parts to infuse the story with Christmas meaning, but also the story has to then speak back to Christmas. So It's a Wonderful Life, A Christmas Carol, your book, Christmas Carol, they speak back into Christmas, that this is how the birth of Christ changes us. Even if it doesn't talk about that specifically, as you said in The Lord of the Rings, this is how these values now change us. And it doesn't really talk about that. It uses the trope that is in every action movie. Lethal Weapon is the same way, that something has gone wrong and somehow by killing people for an hour and a half, it's all going to be solved. And it does...
Important principle that it serves as the foundation stone of all video games.
But so all I'm saying is that I don't feel it's existentially a Christmas movie.
Well, you're kind of maybe this is not what you're saying, but it's kind of like it uses Christmas as like a character in the movie to kind of tell you something about maybe the values or whatever, but it's not actually itself a Christmas story. It's like it's using Christmas as a kind of trope.
Yeah.
I will say, I watched It's a Wonderful Life again for the first time, which I do not watch every year the way we watch the Alistair Sim. And that is a perfect movie in almost every respect. And what's really interesting about it is that the thing it's supposed to be about, everybody remembers it's about a guy who sees the world as if he never lived in it, and it's why it's actually a very somber theme because he's about to kill himself and he has to be saved from this.
Yeah.
That takes about 15 minutes of the movie, which is like 2 hours long.
Right.
And that's kind of a remarkable feature in and of itself, that it manages to get across this one idea, but actually much like the Dickens Christmas Carol and Faith's Christmas Carol, it's just a story about his life, essentially. I mean, it really is just, it's sort of it's the mirror image of the Scrooge one, the positive difference that he's made in people's lives.
Right.
And Christmas is sort of happening, but it's very much just suffused through the world rather than being a character in the movie like in Die Hard.
But in It's a Wonderful Life and Christmas Carol, and in your book, Christmas Carol, I mean, what is happening is the values of the world are being turned over and put under the values of the spirit. And I think that's exactly what Christmas is basically saying, is that like while Caesar is doing this and while all this little baby is being born, this mom is nursing this baby, a little mother is, rocking a cradle in Bethlehem. And that's the real thing. That's the real story of life, and that to me, I mean, it's, you can kind of see it in Die Hard, but I just like the scene where he uses the fire hose to jump off the roof, and possibly the greatest action sequence. I can't even remember. I gave an entire lecture. This is true. I once gave an entire lecture on how to write an action sequence just using that, because one danger leads to the next danger, leads to the next one, and there's no relief until finally he comes crashing through the window. And I think then he's held at gunpoint. And it's absolutely like a ballet of action. It's really good. For more spectacular content, like and subscribe, and don't forget to subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show wherever you get your podcasts.